Hey friend, it's Ange here, and today in the podcast, I'm telling you about my operating system. The system that I use to help me be proud of how I'm using my time, to help me make progress on the things that are most important to me, help me manage my household well, do work that's meaningful to me, take care of my body, show up as the present mom, wife, fun person that I want to be. Like, this has been really helping me. This is a system where I'm like, where have you been all my life? Why didn't I know about you sooner? Like, how much less overwhelmed and stressed could I be feeling if I would have known about you sooner? Like, this is how I feel about this system. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about it, because I want you to feel like that in your life. I want you to feel like you are making progress on the things that are most important to you. You're really proud of how you're using your time. And if you're like me and you also are the person that tends to manage the household, or maybe you're like the default parent, that stuff, then you're really going to love this system, because it's going to help you just take a lot of what you've been holding in your mind out of your mind and into another space where you can intentionally move things forward. And it also helps you see the spaces that you may need to delegate more or get additional help with. Like, this is my favorite thing ever. So let's get to it. All right, so there's 5 parts of the system, and I believe you need all of them. And I think you are already doing some pieces within this system, but you may not be doing it very intentionally or thinking about it as a whole altogether. Okay, I'll explain what I mean by that as I tell you each part, because I'm looking back and I'm like, well, I've always used my Google Calendar. Like, ever since I found out about Google, I've been using my Google Calendar, but I didn't use it really intentionally, and I didn't use it with this whole system in mind. And you may be the same. You may be how you have a calendar where you're scheduling certain things, but are you thinking about it with this other stuff in mind? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so old me, so that you know, the old me used to feel very overwhelmed. Like, I would feel like at the end of the day that I was so busy, but I was like, if someone was like, well, what did you do today? I'd be like, oh, what did I do? I did all these things, like so much. Like, that's how I felt. And I often felt like I just wasn't proud of how I spent my time. Like, I feel like I didn't have a good way of like measuring the progress that I was making. And it felt very survival mode, like trying to do all the things to keep juggling all the balls and stay above water and make sure my house has everything it needs and my kids have everything they need and my work stuff is moving forward. But it didn't feel good while I was doing it. You know, it's like that survival mode feeling. Whereas now I feel a lot more peace. I feel like I can see the progress that I'm making. I can clearly articulate the progress I'm making. I know when I'm going to do certain things versus feeling like in one given day, I'm like, I'm going to try to do all these things. And it felt like it wasn't very realistic. And I always felt defeated at the end of the day. Like, I never got to all the things I wanted. But once I started implementing the system, I'm just much more intentional with my time and realistic, being like, yeah, you're not going to get to all that today. So we're going to find another place for it to go. And then there's this part of me that feels proud that I know when I'm going to be working on that thing, and I know where the progress is, and things don't fall through the cracks. Like, so much stuff was falling through the cracks. And then it would be like triggering conversations. Like, for example, my husband would ask me about something and I would just be so annoyed with him. Like, I would just be like, I have so much going on. And like, but I knew I dropped the ball somewhere, or I didn't follow up on something, or I'm like, my mind couldn't hold it. And I would just be easily triggered. And sometimes he would say something about like my time, and like, I can't remember exact like phrases, but I was so like, I felt so bad about how I was using my time. Like, I felt so busy and so much lack of peace that anything around like asking me what I did or adding anything to my plate, it was just so triggering to me. And it's because I didn't have a good operating system. So we're going to talk about it. You ready? Let's go. All right. So we talked about the 5 parts. Okay, did I tell you, I told you my after, like how I'm feeling now, like so much more peace. I feel like I'm making progress in every area of my life. Like, I feel like my home's so much more peaceful. I feel like my health, I feel better. Like, all the things I feel better. This is why I got to tell you about this. And you're like, just tell me, Ange, let's go. I am excited. I hope you get excited about this too. All right, so the first thing that you need to have, if you don't have right now, is you need to have somewhere that you put down all your ideas and things that are running in your mind and the things that you know you need to do that you're thinking about throughout the day. This is a second brain. Think about it that way. So research shows that your brain isn't really good at like storing all the things. In fact, that can be what makes you feel very overwhelmed. I think about it as like you have a laptop and you have like a hard drive or an area like in your laptop, it's storing all the information, right? As it gets too full, you have too much on there, it's taking up too much space, that laptop starts to slow down. And you're like, oh, I need a separate like hard drive or something to move stuff to so I can save that stuff. Because maybe I want those pictures, I want those videos, I want those whatever it is. But it is weighing you down. I think about it that way. Like I want to remember this thing, but it's weighing me down. So you have a second brain, we'll call it that, where you're putting in this information. And don't be like me, where I used to have my second brain would be like my notes app on my iPhone. I'd start typing things there. I'd also use Notion. I use Trello. I use my Google Docs. I'd use sticky notes, notebooks, my planner. Like everything was stored in all these different areas and nothing was organized. So now what I do is I only use one place to store my thoughts. Well, really two places, but for different things. So my second brain is actually in Trello. I use Trello. You can use any other system that you want. You can even use a Google Docs or you can stick to your notes app, whatever it is. But you need one designated spot. I repeat, one, not a million like I used to have. One that you go to and you're writing down the things that you know you need to do as you think about them. Like, for example, during the day, I'll be like, oh, my son needs more diapers. Oh, we need more chia seeds. Oh, we need, and that would cross my mind and I'm just putting it into a place. But you want that place organized. So the reason why I use Trello, this is where my operating system really lives, is in Trello. So I have one specific, what are they called? It's like a card, and think of it as like a page if you're not familiar with Trello. And that's where I'm putting down a list of things that I know I need to act on. And I can even tag it like with a time frame, but sometimes it's as messy as like I'm just writing down, get cheese seeds, do this, whenever it pops in my mind, and I just take that out of my mind and I'm just putting it there. And I have the app for it and I'm just putting it down. And then I know when I'm starting to like plan my week or what I'm doing, I open it up and I know there's a designated area of running, like a running list of things. And I'll look through that and see if there's anything important, or I'll start to group things together. Or I'll block off a time to get the 1 hour of Amazon purchases, right? It helps me organize my time later, but at least right off the bat, I don't complicate it. I just get the thought out of my mind into one specific area. So what's operating as your second brain for you? Pick one thing. I also use Notion, which I love, but I use Notion a lot I store like different logins, different course logins that I have, or where I'm writing like jokes or like keynote stuff or whatever it is that that's stored in my Notion because I like to search in there. But when I'm thinking of something right away, it goes right into my second brain. And sometimes they may be related. Like I could be like, update keynote topic on this thing, and I put that into my second brain, but then that information may be stored in Notion. But things are organized better, so I know there's a purpose for each thing that I'm storing. Don't be trying to use a million things like maybe you have been to store information. So decide what that looks like. So in my operating system in Trello, I have that one tab running with the things, and then I make, let's call it like the cards for each day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And when I'm organizing my week or planning my week, I pop on there and I move, think of them as like sticky notes for each day, the main things that I want to get done. And then when I'm looking at my week, I'm pulling from that running to-do list, see if anything's important there. And some stuff won't make it onto the week because it's like just stuff that I'm thinking about for the future. Like, for example, a while back, we're selling our rental property, and I wrote down cancel all services for the rental property. And I wrote this months ago. And it was just in there to remind me, when you do sell an inch, don't forget that piece of it. And that went on my to-do list for this past week. But it was just in there hanging out, waiting for me to get to it. But it was out of my brain. I wasn't relying on my brain to remember it. because I was dropping the balls on really important things when I was only relying on my brain to remember versus the second brain to hold that stuff. So think about, that's how I will plan my week out then, is in that system. It's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's not times on those exact sticky notes because I use my Google Calendar. And we're going to get to that in just a bit. My Google Calendar is for appointments or places I need to either show up online or in person. That's it. That's all that's on my Google Calendar. That's not a part of the system. I do not put everything in my Google Calendar. I don't schedule out everything in there. I've done that in the past. It's super overwhelming and I don't stick to it anyways. I don't like it for that. So the only use of my Google Calendar is appointments for things I need to be at, whether that's virtually or in person. And sometimes I will block off like travel time because that way no one's trying to, my calendar's linked to other scheduling stuff and no one's like going to snatch up a time that I actually need to travel to get somewhere. So that's all that's on my Google Calendar. And my husband and I sync our Google Calendars together so we get to see things like our family vacations and things or whatever is appointments he needs to be at, we can see. So that's another part of the system. So you got first thing is your second brain. Where is that going to be? Where is that going to live? Where you're writing out the things in your mind that just pop in there that you know you need to do. Find a spot for that. The second piece of this is using a Google Calendar or some other calendar. I recommend Google. And that's where you are committing. You're only putting down the things that you need to physically be present for or virtually or like in person or your travel time. Don't be putting everything in there. All right. And then the focus blocks. This is the third part that you need for your operating system. This is where, let's go back to my Trello and you can visualize this in your mind. So I have those cards for each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I use all those cards there. And I know that I have specific focus blocks for each day I try to stick with. Do they move around a lot? Yes, because life is like that. That's why in the past when I used to try to schedule everything in my Google Calendar, it never worked because I just felt like I wanted to be consistent. Well, like every day at the same time, we do our workouts. Every day we tidy at this time. We have our specific work blocks at this time. But then life happened. Like I'd have an appointment at a certain time or something would get moved around. I'd have a consulting project that messed that area up. So now I just know there's specific focus blocks I want as a part of each day. And I generally try to keep them in the same window, but I know, like for example, I have like in the morning, I have 1 hour I like to block off for myself. Does it always go towards myself? No, not always. But I try to block that hour off. And let's say I take a client call, there's something that happens or it gets moved around, then I'm like, Ange, you give that hour back to yourself. Where are you going to give it back to yourself? So that's an example of the focus box that's there. The categories that you want to have are these. I have the category of I have a morning routine and an evening routine. So there's chunks of time blocked off for that. Again, we're flexible. It may move. I might have an earlier morning, I might have later morning, depending on what's going on. But I try to practice a rhythm of it. And then I also have work blocks. So this is what mine looks like. In the morning chunk of time, I have like get up in the morning and do stuff with the kids, get everybody ready for the day, all that stuff, right? Journaling, devotional, all of those things before I actually decide to work. And then I have a morning work block. It's just 2 hours. But man, I get a lot done if I have a focused 2 hours. Especially after I've already moved my body. I've had journal, devotional time. Like I'm feeling really good going in. I'm going to be way more productive than if I tried to do things throughout the day and not have that intentional time for myself. It's about an energy thing too. So then I have a morning work block, and then I take a break for lunch for myself, and I like to go for walks. So if anyone's like, "Can I just talk to you?" I always say during my lunch walk. I don't want to give any other time because that's and sometimes I don't even want to give that. Sometimes I just want to reset. But if I am going to do a walk and chat, it's going to be during that time. So I have a designated time for anyone that wants to pick my brain, we'll call it, and it's only with people that I actually feel like I want to talk to, right? Okay, so then I have an afternoon work block. And that's a chunk of time. So when people are asking me about scheduling things or I'm doing certain work things, I'm trying to put it in those chunks of time. Because I know, generally speaking, those are the times I want to work. And then before I go get my kids, I like to have an hour at like getting house stuff ready. And I know this is not possible for everyone, but this is what I'm working towards. Where I have I actually do like a quick afternoon workout. That's actually when I've been working out lately. I like to do a walk in the morning, but in the afternoon, I'll do like a quick workout before I go get the kids, and I'll make sure like our food and dinner options, we figured that out, and like resetting the house. And it's just such a lovely transition from work to household stuff and family time. I'm so happy that I built that into my system for me. So I try not to schedule time, like work happening during that time. Sometimes it does happen, but I try not to. So I generally try to follow these same rhythms. And then I have an evening routine. And that's all the stuff that involves like after like dinner, or we like to go for a walk as a family or do some nature time. That's a big part of our life. And then we like come back, get the kids ready for bed, and then get them off. And then we're trying to work on spending time with each other. Like that's a habit we're trying to practice. It doesn't always show up that way, because sometimes things run later, but we're trying to build that in. This stuff is all a practice. So what are the focus blocks? Let me repeat them to you. The focus blocks I have are an early morning routine. This is the stuff before work mode. A morning work block. And I have a little lunch thing for myself, break. And then I have a PM, an afternoon work block. And then I have like a transition little hour sprinkled in there before we move into the evening part of my time with my family. So those are the focused areas, and they shift. And when I've been working with people on this in the past, your times are going to be different from my times based on what you are doing with your life. You may have a shorter morning block. You may have a longer morning work block. Like it just depends on what you're doing. And there's set things you want to do within those blocks. It's not as rigid as other systems, because you got to be flexible with your life. But you're intentional, but you're unattached. Remember, we like to see that over here. So that is how I think about it. And that doesn't go on my Google Calendar. Repeat. I don't put that in my Google Calendar, blocking it all off. I don't. I just genuinely think like this is how my day tends to operate, and I put the things in the right categories. So let's say I want to move something forward with a certain goal. Then I may start planning to do that at that certain work block time. The morning work block or the PM work block. As I'm planning my week, that's a big part of this. So I got my second brain system where I'm putting all my thoughts out. I'm going to recap a little bit. We got our focus blocks. We know the areas that we're focusing, the categories, right? And then we have our Google Calendar where we're making sure, like, and this helps you too. When you have those focus blocks, you know, then if someone's like, hey, we need to schedule time for this thing. Okay, I'm going to try to push it towards the afternoon. That's when I typically do that stuff. Oh, I know I gotta do the laundry, but I have my tidy, like I do my tidying stuff at this set time or this specific day. Like you generally know like when that is. So that helps you schedule things out if you need to, like an actual meeting or in-person thing. Okay, so you have your second brain, your focus blocks, your Google Calendar, and you're using them for the specific intended purposes. And you want to have some, like my operating system again lives where my second brain lives, which is in the Trello system. So then that means when you're looking at the cards, when I'm planning each day out, I'm just making like, think about it as like they call them like cards in there. I make like a little sticky note that may say like for Monday, maybe, or let's pretend Wednesday. I'm just thinking for the podcast. I like to record on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So let's say, ideally it's Tuesday. So we'll give that as an example. Tuesday. So then I might have record podcasts on there. That makes it on the card. And I know that's probably going to fit in my morning work block time. It's probably going to fit my PM work block time. You see what I'm doing here? And I have I put the task I'm thinking when I'm going to be working on those things. So I spread it out throughout the week, and we're putting those cards. So my Trello system, it's really fun. When I open it, it looks like a bunch of like sticky notes that are there, but it's like organized, and I know the workflow that I have. I have my Google Calendar. I always open up to make sure I'm like checking in where those meetings are, and I like to put them in my Trello system too. Like if I have a 10 o'clock meeting, I'm just going to put that as one of the cards in my Trello system under Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day it is. And then I can see for that day, and I check off all those things that were done. And it's not super detailed. It's actually pretty, like, for example, yesterday, I had all these things I needed to print off. I'm about to travel for some work stuff. And I had like a checklist for my husband I was printing off. I had like the PowerPoint slides for me to practice. Like there's all these lists of things I wanted to print off. So I had a card that said print off documents. And I clicked on that card and it had a checklist of all the documents in there. And that was just under my Wednesday or whatever day it was. So that's like how I set it up. And it'd be better if you could see what I'm talking about, but I want you to know the things that are in place to make this happen. And I also use a paper planner. And someone might be like, this feels like a lot. I promise you it's not. It's so fun to organize in this way. Like I love writing in my paper planner. I use the Goal Crazy Planner. And in my Goal Crazy Planner, I write the priorities for the day. These are the things that make it into my electronic Trello system that have cards. And I use them both together. Like I like to start off my day writing my gratitude, the things I'm grateful for, what I'm excited about. That's in my paper planner. And I have then opened up my electronic system and I see the cards there for each day of the week. And I have my Google Calendar open. And then I will, at the end of the day, I will review with my paper planner where it's like simple stuff. It's like, the best moments from today, what were your accomplishments? And I can look and see them on the Trello system. I can see what I've crossed off. I can look and see like the 3 most important things that I focus on. It's just another space for me to really stay intentional. And I love using all of those things. I think it's important to have both. Some people are like, no, I'm not a paper person at all. Or I'm not an electronic person at all. I think you need to have both. That's my personal opinion. Okay, so let me continue on. So we got your second brain, your focus blocks, your Google Calendar that you're working with. And then you have a time that you are reviewing it. Remember, you keep hearing me say that I planned the week. So on Fridays, I look back at the whole week and I'm like, oh, I'm so proud. Like I see the cards, I see all the check marks. I'm like, proud of you. You moved all those areas forward. You got those things done. Oh, you didn't get to this though. That's still sitting there in that underneath the second brain stuff, like the thought downloads that I have. There's still some tasks there. I'm like, let me move them to the next week. Or nope, let's plan for that in the following week. And I might make a note of that. But it helps me have a place to go to. So weekly review, this is part of this process. When are you going to review this? And it doesn't have to take long. You don't always have to sit down and do it. You could be like, for me, a lot of times we leave on the weekend. So I can be in the car and I will open up my Trello system and I'll look and see all the things and start making notes for the next week. Things I didn't get to. Sometimes there's additional tasks that like just didn't get finished. Like I love when I'm like, I want to close that loop. I want to check that box off. But then the person won't get back to me. And I'm like, oh, you're the last person on my list and I need to finish this thing. And like, I need you to answer so I can say, check, done, finish this. But then I might need to move that to my next week and be like, follow up on whatever. But it helps me see how the progress I made and what I want to move to the next week. Now, I know that some people may be like, this doesn't sound fun at all, but I'm telling you what's fun is you feeling really good about how you use your time. And the stuff that makes it on here, it's not just about work stuff. Like even my Trello system, I put my whole management stuff on there too. I blend them both. I would never do that in Google. I wouldn't put like all this tidying and random like grocery shopping, all that stuff in my Google Calendar. I wouldn't have done that. I don't think that's a good idea. I put it in my Trello system mixed with my work stuff. It's both in there. And I like the mix of it. Some people would say to do it separate. I like the mix of it because it's my life. That's how I see it. It's like it's all the stuff together and me functioning well as Ange. So I put them together. But then again, I tend to organize my time based on the focus blocks. And when they tend to fall, that's when I like to do things. But I have the Trello system. I think this works so well. If you want to learn more about this, like message me and let me know, because maybe I'm thinking about teaching more visually about this so you can create a system like this for yourself. I'm thinking even in my future programs, like I want everyone to have this. Like you need to get clear about what it is you want for your life, and you need to have a system that supports you moving forward and making the progress that you want in your life. What does that look like? A lot of us don't have the system. So I always see people go wrong with that. Like they may have the dreams and the vision, but they don't have the system and the habits to carry it forward. You need that. You need to be able to see your progress. It pumps you up. And this helps you with that. So the weekly review time. And again, it doesn't have to be you sit there. It could be like me on a road trip. My husband's driving and I'm like looking and making sure I'm just reviewing and planning for the following week. It feels really good. All right, so I feel there's one more piece of this that I didn't talk about, which is the most important piece. And the reason I didn't talk about it first is I didn't want you to like freak out if you don't have it and feel like you can't start being intentional with these other parts, because you can. At the very least, you can get that second brain for yourself. Pick the one designated spot that you are putting down your thoughts and going to take action on them. That you can do that bare minimum. You can start to think, what focus box would you want? You can start to think about using your Google Calendar only for the appointments and things you have to be present to, versus putting everything on there, or using it more than you have been using it. And then the other part of this is the weekly review system. Now, the last part of this is the part I was talking about, is the vision. You know how this functions really well? Is you have a clear vision of what you're working towards and who you want to be. Then you create your focus box based on that. Then it helps you decide the priorities for the week. Then you look like, oh, I want to be strong, fit, and healthy like me. And then I'm like, ooh, I see. I had my workouts on my Trello system all in there. Check, check, check. I did them all. I'm so proud of myself. I'm becoming that strong, fit mama that I want to be. Like, that aligns with my greater vision. And I'm in my weekly reviews, I'm reviewing my vision. In fact, I review my vision every single day. And I can look and be like, oh, you're not moving forward on this. Or I just feel so proud of myself when I'm like, yes, you are doing that. You're moving forward. You're becoming her, that person that you wanted to be in your vision. Like, there's evidence of it. It just pumps me up. So these things all work together to help me carry my vision forward. So what I have right now is, not only do I have a personal vision that is identity based, I also, meaning like, it's not just like a goal, like run a half marathon. It's more like be a half marathon runner, like that. That's an example. That's actually not one of mine right now, but that's an example of what it would be worded like. I have that vision in front of me right now. I'm looking at it to remind me every day. I got the categories that I have: spirituality, health, family, relationships, home, work, finances, personal growth, and fun. And I have I statements across the board in each area about the kind of woman I want to be in that area and how I want to feel about it. And I look at that and I think, this week, what am I doing to be her? Oh, I want to make sure in my Trello system, Monday through Sunday, I have my workouts in there. Because I'm being under health right now. I make time to care. I make time to take good care of my mind, body, and spirit every day. That's the kind of person I am. So it's like, where is that? When am I doing that? And I can tell you, me thinking that way, I'm like, oh, remember, Ange, you had all these coffee dates with yourself this week. You actually followed through. You did your morning devotionals. You did your workouts. And I'm like, so proud of you. You are being the person that you want to be. Feels so good. And there's so I have I am statements for each category. And that's what would be so cool for you to have, is a vision that you have like that. And then you use your time in a way that honors your vision, and you're able to track your progress. I also have, on top of my own vision, I have my family vision. This is goals that Ian and I have together, identity statements we have together, ways that we run our household. Like, some of those things are in there. And I'm feeling so proud. Even this past weekend, we've been trying to review this on Fridays. And even this past week, I'm so proud, because I'm like, one of the things is finances. I'm a good steward on my finances and know where all my money goes and how to make more of it by helping more people. Like, that's one of our statements. So I'm just thinking this week, I'm like, dang, we killed it in the finances this week. Like, we did so many intentional decisions when it came to our finances. We moved so many things forward. We had our accounting meeting. We had, like, I'm just thinking all these things, that evidence of us being that person. When you start living a life like that, it feels so freaking good. Evidence of you, and you see evidence of you being that person, you're like, I'm pumped. And even when life gets hard, there's just something about how you can endure it when you are proud of how you're showing up, and you know, maybe you're not there yet, but you know you're on the way there. And you just feel pumped knowing that, seeing your progress. What sucks is when you're in a place where you don't have a vision of what you're working towards, and you don't feel like you're making progress because you don't have a vision to like line it up and see that you're making progress, right? And you don't feel proud of how you're managing your time. Being in that space sucks. I know how that feels. And I don't think that's how you're meant to live. I think you are meant to live in a way that you're being really good steward of the resources you've been given, your time, your energy, your money. The only way that you can do that is by having a vision that you are working towards. You're not attached to it. You're open. God wants to change that up. You're like, here, I'm here for it. You want something better from me? I'm here for it. But I am going to take intentional action. And then the way you take intentional action is you implement these kinds of systems that I'm talking about. And you track that progress. You celebrate it. You get other people on board with the vision. You prove to yourself that you are becoming the person that you want to be. And by doing this, you're tracking that. And like your brain needs that evidence. It needs to see that it's possible that you are becoming that person. This is just a good way to do it. And I've never felt so excited about this process. Like, I'm like, this is actually working. Like, it took me a long time to get to this place where I've always been about vision and like clarifying that, but I don't feel like I was really good about the follow through of it. Even my programs and stuff wasn't like, that's an area that I could grow in because I wasn't doing it well in myself. Like, but now I feel like I am. Like, I'm so excited to tell you about the progress I'm making because I'm like, of this, what I've created for myself. And I'm excited to create a planner that actually honors this system, that is identity focused, that's helping you manage your time in this way where you have your own operating system that allows you to be the kind of woman or person that you want to be. Like, oh, it feels so freaking good. I want you to feel that way too if you don't feel that way. All right. So I hope you got a lot from this episode. Let me just clarify, and I want you to think about it. At the very least, get yourself a second brain. At the very least. Don't be trying to hold all those thoughts in your mind. Get it out. Put it on something. In one area, stop using a million different places. Okay? That's the first thing. So we talked about the second brain that you need as far as your operating system goes. You need to have somewhere electronically. This is where I recommend your second brain lives too. Some system, some electronic system that you can use to store those thoughts and to plan out your days. And that's Trello is the one that I use. And there's a gazillion other out there. I like Trello because it looks like sticky notes to me, and I'm a sticky note person. All right. And then you need to have focus blocks in mind. And that's how you manage your time. And you're using those focus blocks to help you manage your time. And then you want to have the Google Calendar, and that's only where you put appointments or anywhere you need to be physically or virtually. That's it. And sync it with your people that you need to sync it with. Like my husband and I are sync, so I can turn his calendar on and I can turn mine on and see them both at the same time. And we can plan the fun vacations and stuff like that. And then the other piece of this was reviewing, having a set time where you're reviewing it weekly. My husband and I review our vision. We review our progress. I review my own stuff and plan the next week every Friday. I set time to do that. That's part of my system as well. So weekly review. So vision, having a clear vision for yourself. Bonus if you have one for your family. A second brain system that's electronic. Mine is Trello. Focus blocks in mine. Morning routine, evening routine. AM block, working block, PM working block, the break for middle of the day, you step out, that stuff. Your Google Calendar with your appointments on it, and then you're reviewing time. So I recapped it a gazillion times. I want you to think about this episode. I don't want you to just be like, oh, that sounds great. No, I want you to implement something that you heard today, whether that's a second brain system, thinking through the electronic system, using Google Calendar for appointments, what are your focus blocks, how are you going to review, just even sitting there and brainstorming and being like, what is my vision? What do I want for my life when it comes to my spirituality, when it comes to my health, when it comes to my family, when it comes to my relationships, when it comes to my home, my work, my finances, personal growth, fun stuff. And a great way that you can just simply start this is fill in the blank. Wouldn't it be cool if I do that? I go for walks and I have, wouldn't it be cool if parties for myself? I'm like, when it comes to my health, wouldn't it be cool if fill in the blank? When it comes to my career, wouldn't it be cool if fill in the blank? That stuff will help you get closer to your vision. Then you can create this other system around it. Okay, hope you got a lot from this episode. And also I want to say, if you are feeling in your life that maybe you're feeling a little unfulfilled when it comes to your career, you no longer feel like it fits, that it's aligned with the direction you want to go because either you have changed or your circumstances have changed, then holla, because I would love to interview you for the program that I'm creating next, just to gain your insights. I keep talking about this. I'll keep continuing to talk about this. So if you know anyone that's willing to share this insights, please reach out to me. We'll spend no more than 30 minutes. I want to honor your time. I'll do my best to stick to it. I'm not always the best about that because I'm like, let me help you while I'm on the call. I'm like, wait, I just want to get your insights. Not trying to sell you anything, I promise. Because I don't have anything to sell you. I want to create this program. It's really helpful for people. I'm feeling like this is going to be a part of it, the system stuff. Not sure what that looks like yet. But again, feeling any unfulfillment in your career, feeling like it no longer fits with where you want to go in your life, you've changed or your circumstances have changed. You don't really know what you're doing next, but you know you don't want to stay in the way things are. Okay? So if that's you, you can schedule a time to connect with me in the detail section of this episode. And as long as the link is there and you can find a time on it, get on my calendar. Let's meet. Let's chat. All right. Have an awesome, blessed day. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.